Hey guys, RJ here, and if you would have told me just a couple of years ago that Aziz Ansari would have one of the best television shows, period, in 2017, I personally probably would have laughed at you. Well, it's time for you all to laugh back because this is our Season 2 review of Master of None, and it's a good one. Before we get started, if you have not seen Season 2 of Master of None, please turn this off. I don't want to spoil anything for you, and I know that this review probably will. So yeah, just go ahead and turn this off, and without further ado, let's start talking about this. The first episode, coming in black and white, I personally thought maybe my TV broke, or maybe I pressed something on Netflix. I was like searching through the menu like, what is this? But no, that's exactly the way he wanted it to be, and yeah, there are a lot of unique things that I feel like they attempted in this season to not only just break away from season 1, differentiate, which I feel like too many shows nowadays just like keep on plowing through with the content and the style and everything that they have from season 1 because they know it works. They've been renewed for season 2. I feel like Aziz had pretty much creative freedom because Netflix was probably like here, take our money, do with it what you will. And yeah, I mean, he nailed it in this series. This is by far one of the best. I'm going to consider it like a romantic comedy, but I guess you could also consider it like a drama. I don't know. I don't want to classify things here. That's not what this review is about. But yeah, he does an amazing job. He writes, he directs, he acts. Just everything, man. There's so much to talk about. Let's talk about all the characters in this season. So we still keep our characters from last season. We still have Denise and Arnold and Brian and Dev, and they haven't switched it up crazy amounts. I just think that they filtered in people a little bit differently this season. Just the way that they kind of structure it, because Dev starts out in Italy still, and Arnold goes to visit him eventually. So he's really the only one to see him in Italy. But eventually, obviously, we know that Dev gets called back. He goes back to New York, and I kind of knew that was going to happen. I feel like the rest of us kind of knew because so many of the characters we've met up to this point are in New York. So that wasn't a huge surprise to me, but I just like the way that they kind of filter and stagger this season. I feel like it focuses a lot more on Dev himself. I feel like there's a lot of introspection going on. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I just kind of wanted to put out there that it's definitely not as character heavy as it was last season, where I feel like Brian was in every single episode, same with Denise, Arnold too. I feel like they did a good job of like bringing those characters in spots that still really worked, but also not having them too heavy of a focus, and you get to see a lot more of Dev in this season, a lot more of what he's going through, and I think that makes the whole season a little bit more powerful. Dev learned moving throughout this season. We see him at the beginning where he's still like talking to Rachel, he's reaching out to her because he hasn't met anyone in Italy really, and he has that one moment where, he finally meets a girl and they share lunch together and like a fun afternoon, but then he ends up losing his phone, which I love that bit in the first episode. That is not what I thought Thief was going to stand for when I first saw that title, but yeah, nonetheless, I just like the way that Dev kind of goes through a ton of things in this season. He goes through the one dating episode where he's like, just doing like a free-for-all on Tinder or the equivalent in Netflix. I like the way that they kind of structure that, and you see him like getting tired. He's getting tired of the same dates like over and over and over again, and obviously we end up learning why at the end of this season, why he's getting tired of it. But yeah, I mean, you can tell that he's like emotionally exhausted throughout this season because he likes someone else there, and he's not sure if they like him back, and he's also trying to make new connections, and he's trying to run a cupcake show. Which I just gotta say, like throughout this whole season, the cupcake stuff was just like, I was dying. The Jabberwocky scene with Brian and Arnold where they're fanboying, and just like in general, like we all know the Food Network shows this is based off of. This is pretty much close to reality right there. The Chef Jeff stuff, I wasn't personally a huge fan of. I laughed at some of the moments they had, but I do think he was necessary for the plot. He helps like push things forward in a really good way, and I think the fact that you see what happens to him at the end with the allegations towards him from all of the people that have worked on the crew and stuff, and just tons of women in general towards him. I like the fact that Dev doesn't even care. He doesn't even care what happened in the show. He doesn't care what happened with Chef Jeff. All he cares about is Francesca. And can you blame him? Can you really blame him? Francesca is 100% wife material. He needs to go out, buy a ring, the biggest one he can find in New York, give it to her, take her back to Italy, move to Italy, live in grandma's house. I will do that for you if you're not going to, because man, she is like unbelievably amazing in this series. She does so many like things that like you're like, oh my god, she's so cute. Like the English words that they like, they're translating for each other throughout. Like when Dev is in Italy, she's helping him translate, and when she comes to New York, he helps her translate. And that's like part of the thing that he really likes about her is like explaining weird English words to her. And yeah, there's just so many. The dinner party episode, I gotta say, the dinner party episode. That hit me here. That was hitting me like really hard. I don't know. I felt for Dev in that episode like a lot for some reason. And I do gotta say, like, one of the complaints I do have about this season, which this is a small one. I love this season. Spoiler alert. I loved this season. But if I did have to complain, the end of that episode with Dinner Party where he's riding home in the car, and I know they're trying to be edgy. He's trying to add on, like, this is very emotional, but the car ride home, like 2.5 minutes of screen time, no go for me. But beyond that, and we'll get into the Francesca Dev thing here in a second a little bit more, but beyond that, my favorite episode actually of the entire season is the Thanksgiving episode. Maybe I'm alone in this, but I absolutely love like Denise like eventually having to like tell her parents and her family, and I don't know, like Dev like as a little kid and they're like upstairs smoking weed and stuff. There's just like a lot of great moments in that episode, and it reminds me a lot. My Thanksgivings are always very interesting. It brought me back home. It gave me that feel. I don't know. I really enjoyed that episode when Dev is screaming at grandma about yams and stuff. Just beautiful. I almost forgot about the Arnold bit in the first part of the season where he like kind of lies to Dev saying like, yeah, I got to go to this wedding. It's a friend's, and ends up being his ex-girlfriend of like 11 years. It's like, holy cow. But watching Arnold getting stuck in between, or getting stuck in the car, in between the brick walls, and then once again getting stuck on the sunroof, and all of it being a giant analogy for him being caught in between a hard place, having to go to this wedding. And yeah, I love that episode in general. I think Arnold is just such a great like side character. I just think he brings like a really fun energy to the show. His styling choices are bar none hilarious. I absolutely love the things that he's wearing throughout this series. But yeah, just in general, I really like the way that they bring Arnold into Italy. They eventually obviously go back together, but the way that him and Dev, interact throughout the whole season is just really special. Big Bud, Little Bud. Ah, yes, we have arrived. Let's talk about Francesca and Dev, and I guess we could throw Pino in there too, right? But yeah, okay, so it starts off, and I could tell from the first episode, I kid you not, I was like, there's clearly something there. And I'm guessing most of you noticed that. Like, they're clearly like flirting, but in a friendly way. There was a line when they were in Italy, and maybe that's because Pino was like so close to Francesca all the time. I don't really know. But they definitely had like flirty moments throughout their time in Italy. And I kind of knew like going forward, I was like, there's definitely something strange going on there, especially like when when it was his birthday and she got him a present and stuff, just the way she was acting. I knew there was something strange. But yeah, so Dev moves back for a glorious cupcake show. Cannot blame him in the least. Got to get that money. Got to get those cupcakes. But marinate on this for a minute. I really, really enjoyed the way that they kind of like bring in Pino to be this like kind of douchey character, but I honestly just felt kind of bad for him in the end. And I mean, that end scene, so let's just get it out in the open here. Dev and Francesca at the end, I mean, they're together, right? Like that's what we're assuming. I did not see a wedding ring on that finger. There are some like weird like reflections. I don't know if those are like other rings she had, but there is some weird reflection. I didn't see a ring, but point is, I love the fact that we are kind of led to believe at first that she ends up obviously not choosing him. And I thought that there was no way that they kind of like come back and have her come back. I was like, yeah, this is going to be another stepping stone for Dev, right? Like he's going to step off of this and go to his next relationship, and maybe that will be the real one. But in fact, she actually comes over at the end. You see, I like the way that they lead into this scene where they have, his windows and they have like the snow falling in. It's a very like slow tune that's playing too. And they come in and they show them both laying together in bed. They both open their eyes. I love the way that they end that cliffhanger. I thought that was terrific. I'm kind of wondering where they're going to go from here. Clearly, this is getting a season 3. This is going to be one of the most watched Netflix series of all time. I'm just kind of curious, like, where do they go next season? Because, I mean, obviously, the Dev franchise, like, how many seasons are we planning here? Because I don't want to fall in love with Francesca and Dev as a couple and then kind of be heartbroken down the road, because I really do love Francesca. I'm sorry, Dev. I would watch a show with just her in it, saying cute words and being funny and goofy, because, man, Whew. All jokes aside, their on-screen capability with each other, Aziz Ansari and the woman playing Francesca, which I do not know, but Dev and Francesca on screen, like there is some seriously good chemistry in these scenes. Just the way they kind of play off one another, their lines kind of roll together at times, and I just kind of like the way that they're like flirty fun. Them wandering around that huge art museum park, which, okay, I'm just gonna say this right now too. We get some amazing visuals in this show. Like, I was really surprised. I think they oversaturated I think some of their LUTs, some of their overtones that they have were a little bit too highly saturated. Like, I thought some of the reds were just a little bit crazy. But that's like, this is me nitpicking, guys. It really is me nitpicking. In general, some of the scenery we get in this season is fantastic. It's not just them walking around New York, and I'm guessing this is due to the increased budget that they got, but the scenes in Italy, obviously, modissimo, like beautiful. I love that. I love the art park, like I just said, them going to that in New York. The dinner party part where they're staring off into the skyscrapers and stuff, and you get like a really cool view. Just in general, there are some really great shots. The cinematography for this show is 100% necessary, because I feel like if you don't have these interesting shots, these cool lighting shots, these cool outdoor shots, the scenes with Dev and Francesca, they don't mean as much. They don't have as much like background romanticism tied into them. And I think that's part of the reason like these two end up getting together, is because they do so many romantic things together. They see so many cool and beautiful things together. It's just, they did a great job on this. I cannot complain. And for the soundtrack, I'm not going to say like it was bad by any means. It was just subtle. And I mean that as in like, I don't think any part of it was overpowering an episode. Like compared to something like Big Little Lies, 13 Reasons Why, those are like very prominent soundtracks. This one was a little bit more subtle. I like the one where they're like dancing around. They're dancing to like Italy music in his kitchen, or Italian music, not Italy music, God. But yeah, I love the way that they work in the soundtrack. I thought it was good. I didn't think it overpowered anything. I could have maybe used a little bit more during some emotional scenes, but besides that, once again, small nitpicks. So guys, overall, this season was fantastic. If I had to give it a rating, and I really don't always like giving ratings, because I feel like sometimes it turns people off one way or the other, I don't know. I'm going to give this one above a 9.0. I'm going to say 9.0 and up. I don't know where to throw it in at. I'm not going to give it like a 9.9. I think that would be ridiculous, but it's definitely up there. It's an amazing series. If you enjoy comedy or drama or romance, this is a show for you. It really does break it down to what I would consider closer to my generation of the way we interact as human beings with cell phones and social media and all of that kind of stuff. I feel like this show really grounds all of that. And I feel like Aziz does a great job of presenting all of these things in a reasonable fashion that we can understand as the viewer. So let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think moving forward? Do you guys think that Francesca and Dev are for real? Do you think that, we're going to have just 2 more seasons, and, maybe next season they'll break up and then the 4th season will get married? How far do you think they're going to take this thing? I really am curious, what you guys think. Okay, so I guess this is the other thing. One of my friends did say maybe the ending was just all in his mind. Maybe it was all just made up, and that Francesca never left Pino and she just didn't actually come over and Dev's left alone. That would be crazy. I don't think it's possible, or I don't think it's going to happen. It's definitely possible. I don't think it's going to happen, but let me know what you guys think down below. Are they actually together? Do you guys 100% believe it? I do. I don't think that there's supposed to be any trickery going on, but there was the one scene earlier in the season where he was, screwing with his own mind. So yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts. Did you guys like this series as much as I did? I love season 1. I adored season 2, and maybe it's just because of Francesca, but I felt like everything really tied together well in this series, and I'm definitely going to go back and rewatch it again. Well, guys, that is pretty much it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. If you would, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts, your theories. Subscribe to us here on YouTube if you would. Give this video a like. Follow us on social media. All of those links are down in the video description. And until next time, guys, we'll see you soon.